This is Radio Hereford FC, the home of the Bulls.
Hello and welcome back to the latest edition of the Bullscast with me, George Holloway. This week on the pod, we're looking back on Hereford's narrow defeat to South Shields last Saturday, as well as their 1-1 draw at home to Telford on Tuesday night. We'll discuss the key moments from both games before previewing the Bulls' trip to second place Fylde this weekend. I'm joined by Radio Hereford FC's Northern reporter, Ian Sandford. Ian, it's good to see you. Let's get straight into it. 2 games in the last week for Hereford, which began with a 2-1 defeat at league leaders South Shields. Was it perhaps a tale of two halves?
Very much a tale of two halves. Yeah, it was. I think we gave them too much respect at the start of the game, or certainly for the first probably 35 minutes. We started with a back five with Parker playing sort of left of Lewis Hudson, and then a bank of 4 midfielders in front of them. And I think we were sort of set up to contain their style of play. They're a very different team to last season. They play expansive football. It's quick. It's good short passing football that moves the ball up the pitch very fast. A lot of teams have struggled to deal with them this season, but I think after about 35 minutes we pushed Parker up, and for the first time Shields were sitting back for the last 10 minutes of the first half. And I think Caddis sort of half time said, look, we can get into this lot, and we came out a different team second half and really took the game to them, and it was an excellent second half. And I think a few Shields fans that I've spoken to since, and their manager also, I think, have all acknowledged that we were the best team that they've played this season and really took the game to them. And I think the crowd were a bit worried, They could have had a third towards the end, which Hawkins cleared off the line. And I think they were desperate. They were willing that ball to go in just to give them a 2-goal cushion, because I think they were a little bit concerned in the last sort of 10 minutes of the second half.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's touch on that first goal then. As you say, a dominant first half display from the Mariners, and they found the breakthrough on 23 minutes. Touch of fortune perhaps about the goal, Ian, but did we see how ruthless teams at the top of the table can be?
More than a touch of fortune, I would say, because I think Caden Kelly was their left midfielder who got down to the byline and put a flat cross into the 6-yard box. Preston was running back and facing goal, and it just hit him and went into the net, and there was absolutely nothing that he could do about it. I think if he hadn't have been in the way, the ball would have run away to safety, and it would have, the game would have been perhaps goalless at half time. But desperately unlucky for Preston to concede that goal, and he was absolutely dejected about it at the time. But yeah, you could argue that was the sort of ruthless style of play that they have been playing this season, but I think it was more bad luck, to be honest.
Hereford came out on the front foot for the second half, and they got their rewards 4 minutes in when Michael Parker finished off what was a really well-worked move, Ian.
It was a really well-worked move. It was a great break out of defence. Really fast move, sort of really good counter-attack. Great ball out of defence, and Ramey Campbell did well to get to the corner of the box on the right-hand side. Passed it across to Andy Williams. Andy Williams could have quite easily taken the shot himself. He had, good view of goal and probably had half a second where he could have taken the shot and maybe scored, but he knocked it left to Parker, and he finished it brilliantly on his right foot. It was a great goal, and I think everyone watching the game, including the Shield fans, will acknowledge the fact that it was a really well-worked goal.
And you mentioned him just there, Ian. Parker was the Bulls' main outlet in a first half starved of opportunities for Hereford. Did he demonstrate on Saturday why Paul Caddis was keen to re-sign him from West Brom?
Without a doubt. So pleased we've had him back. And I was speaking to Caddis before the game, and he was really pleased to have him back in the squad. And I was actually predicting to a few Shields fans that I was talking to pre-match, saying, watch out for this Parker guy. He's a class above everyone else on the pitch. And I think that proved to be the case once again. He is a really good player with a really bright future, and I think the Shields fans sort of acknowledge that, and hopefully he's with us for 2 months, and it would be great to keep him till the end of the season. That could be the key to a successful season, perhaps keeping Parker for as long as we can.
South Shields retook the lead on 60 minutes, but did it come against the run of play, Ian?
Yeah, I would say absolutely did. We were the dominant team at that point, and we just got caught at the back. We were sort of going at South Shields and taking the game to them, and it was a great pass from the Shields sort of defence out to their right. Lewis Hudson was out of position, and their guy McGurk, I think it was, had lots of space on that right-hand corner of the penalty area, the left-back position. He finished it well, curled it from about sort of 16 yards around Richardson in off the post. It was a great finish, and we just got caught out of position, unfortunately, and it was very much against the run of play, yep.
There was a big moment just 4 minutes after the goal when Ramey Campbell saw his effort from a corner cleared off the line. But should there have been a penalty for handball?
Absolutely, yeah. This was I think our better chance of a shout for a penalty, because it was a bit of a melee in the box, as you say. It came from a corner. Ramey shot from maybe 4 yards out, and it hit one of their defenders on the sort of top of the arm come shoulder, and it looked like it sort of rolled down his arm, and then the ball was cleared, and everyone sort of moved away from the penalty area. But the ref, if he saw it, he made the decision that it wasn't a penalty. Maybe he didn't see it. Perhaps the assistant referee on the left-hand side maybe had a better view. I don't know. But personally, I think it was a penalty. The Bulls fans were right behind the goal at the time. They were screaming for a penalty. It even crossed my mind that the ball might have crossed the line, but I've seen a replay of it, and I would say it didn't cross the line. It hit the player who was stood right on the goal line. For me, it was a penalty, but it's, Shield fans would probably argue otherwise, but I think it's one that should have been given personally.
Ultimately, South Shields held out for the win, but was it a performance Hereford could be proud of?
Without a shadow of a doubt. As I say, I don't think any Bulls fans left disappointed despite defeat, because we knew we were playing the best team in the league. We were at their ground. They completely dominated us for most of the first half, but yet we left with our heads held high. So I don't think Caddis would have been any way critical of the players come the end of the game, and I think their manager did acknowledge the fact that we gave them their toughest game of the season so far. So disappointing to have lost, but I think most of us went there expecting perhaps a bigger defeat than just sort of 2-1. Really, we should have come away with a 2-2, and I don't think it would have been an unjustified result at the end of the game than 2-2.
Hereford were back in action on Tuesday night as they drew 1-1 at home to Telford, who came into the game off the back of an impressive 4-1 win over Scarborough. Matt Richards, Sam Osborne and Charlie Cooper, who has signed on loan from Yeovil, all came into the starting 11, but it was the visitors who looked the most threatening in the first half and were handed the game's first big opportunity when Carl Howkins brought down Matty Stenson in the area. Referee Ben Robinson pointed to the spot and initially showed Howkins a red card before downgrading his decision to yellow after consulting his assistant. It's not something you see too often outside the realms of VAR, Ian.
You can say that again. I don't think I've ever seen that before on a football pitch, that red card's been handed out and then rescinded. It reminded me of cricket a little bit, where the opposing captain can recall a batsman who's on his way back to the pavilion. They decide that it's not out after all. It sort of reminded me of that. It doesn't happen in football, does it? Those sort of decisions getting rescinded. Maybe red cards get rescinded post-game when they're reviewed by the FA or whoever, but just doesn't happen during the game. And so it was a very, very odd sort of situation, and left a lot of people bemused at the time, I think, not least Kevin Wilkins, the Telford manager.
A big save from Richardson to deny Stenson from the spot, Ian, and he seems to be racking up those crucial saves this season.
Yeah, he's a good keeper, isn't he, Richardson? I think most people were glad that he re-signed at the start of the season. It was an important save. Once again, we've started the game. There's a bit of a theme here. We started the game poorly, the first half poorly, as we did at Shields, really, and grew into the game second half. So that penalty save was absolutely crucial. Stenson's a good striker. I think the goal he scored was his 50th goal for Telford. For a striker to have scored 50 goals for the Bulls in the last few seasons. But Richardson's worth his wages every week. He doesn't do too much wrong.
Any positives the Bulls were hoping to carry over from South Shields didn't materialise in the first half, and Telford took the lead on the stroke of half-time when Stenson more than made up for his earlier penalty miss by finding the net with a lovely turn and finish.
Yeah, it was a good goal, good finish. You can tell he's a proper striker with a good nose for goal. But, let's put that result in perspective on Tuesday night, because Telford have seen a real uplift in their form. They beat second place Scarborough on Saturday 4-1, and the week before that, away at Darlington, they won 6-0. So, a 1-1 against Telford isn't a bad result given their recent performances. But what was disappointing is that we didn't perform first half, and Caddis was very unhappy about it in his post-match interview, as you've probably seen, George. But, he's good at getting into them at half-time, but it would be so nice to see a 90-minute performance from the Bulls.
Yeah, a much improved Hereford side came out for the second half, and they got their rewards on 60 minutes when former Bull Jordan Cranston saw his deflected header fall to Sam Osborne, who tapped in. Again, a slice of fortune, Ian, this time for Hereford, but as South Shields showed on Saturday, is it all about those decisive moments?
Very much so. I think, those decisive moments are key, and those are the sort of moments you think back to at the end of the season and say, thank goodness for that, or if only, that slice of luck made up for Saturday a little bit. But, Osborne took the goal well. He kept his cool and reacted and put it in the back of the net, so well done to him, and I think he's going to get a few more goals before the end of the season. And it was, overall, I'd say that was probably what we deserved, given the second half performance.
A narrow loss up at South Shields and a draw at home to Telford. How do you think Paul Caddis will reflect on this week's work?
That's a good question. I think, as I say, coming back from Shields, he won't have been disappointed and too critical of the team. But, a different Tuesday evening, because he clearly wasn't unhappy and perhaps was hoping for 3 points on Tuesday night. And I think we needed 3 points, given that games either side were Shields away and Fylde away. So we really needed the 3 points on Tuesday night. So he'll sort of have mixed views over the last sort of 5 or 6 days. 2 great second halves, 2 not so good first halves, and he'll be wondering what he's got to do to get the best out of the Bulls in the first 45 minutes. So it's an interesting dilemma for Paul Caddis.
There were some eye-catching results in the National League North on Tuesday night, starting with South Shields, who beat third place Scarborough by 4-0. It finished Alfreton 0, Chester 2, Bedford 1, Oxford City 0, Leamington 0, Macclesfield 1, Merthyr 0, Kidderminster 1. Buxton scored a 96th minute winner to snatch a 2-1 win at Peterborough Sports. Radcliffe beat Darlington by 3-1. Southport 1, Chorley 1. Worksop and Kingston finished 2-2, while Hereford's next opponents, Fylde, earned a 5-0 win at Spennymoor. It means that after 2.5 months of the season, South Shields remain top and are yet to be beaten. Fylde are 3 points behind them on 29, while Scarborough Athletic have slipped to third after suffering back-to-back defeats. At the other end of the table, Peterborough Sports sit bottom with 8 points, the same amount that Southport and Oxford City find themselves on, while Hereford lie in 15th after their draw against Telford. It's another tough assignment for Hereford this Saturday as they travel to second place Fylde, who recorded a 5-0 win at Spennymoor on Tuesday night. If the Bulls are to get a result, Ian, will they have to try and replicate their second half performance at South Shields?
Without question, yeah, and they absolutely spanked Spennymoor on Tuesday evening at the Brewery Field, 5-0 as you say, and Spennymoor conceded 9 goals in about 4 days against Merthyr and Fylde, yet they're still sitting 5th in the table. So there's some funny results going on. Telford beat Scarborough Saturday and scored 6 against Darlington, as we've mentioned, and you've got to look at Fylde, despite that fantastic win, and they're chasing Shields and they're second in the league. But they lost to Worksop in the FA Cup a week or so ago and drew at home to Leamington, who, of course, we beat away. So some interesting results from Fylde in the last sort of 2 or 3 weeks. So you kind of don't know what to expect when we go up there on Saturday. But, I think Caddis will have the team well prepared and well briefed, and hopefully he can get them up for that first 45 minutes and we can give Fylde a really good go.
Danny Ormerod is Fylde's top scorer this season with 9 goals. Could Hereford look to replicate the job they did on Paul Blackett last Saturday, Ian, to keep him quiet?
I really hope so. We've actually, you mentioned Paul Blackett there, who is a really dangerous player. And, he didn't have too many chances on Saturday. We marshalled him well. And going back to February, the away game last season, didn't really get much of a look in. So I think we've done a good job against the likes of Paul Blackett. And I'd also say against Glenn Taylor at Spennymoor as well. So, yes, I'm sure Caddis will have a plan for Ormrod. It'd be good to keep him quiet and, try and find a goal or two ourselves to nick a point or three, maybe. You never know.
Fylde have conceded 11 more goals than the Mariners this season, but have also scored more, so perhaps a little bit more unpredictable than the league leaders. Does that help or hinder Hereford's chances of getting a result, Ian?
That's a very good question, George. I don't think anybody truly knows the answer to that. We just mentioned the sort of results that they've had in recent weeks, some surprising and some not so surprising. So you kind of don't know what you're going to get when you go up to Fylde, given their recent history. So who knows? I think, we've got a couple of guys on loan in the last week. We got Cooper in. He played well on Tuesday night, especially in the first half. And we know all about Michael Parker, who's a great player. So results, it could go any way on Saturday. Obviously, Fylde will go into the game as probably quite strong favourites, but then that would have been the case against Shields. And we came away from First Cloud Arena on Saturday thinking we could have got something out of the game. So it's entirely possible. And I go into the Fylde game more positive than I was the South Shields game. So we could get something out of it. Yes, why not?
There's plenty of National League North action taking place this weekend. Telford are hosting Worksop while Alfreton travel to Buxton. It's Chester versus Bedford and Chorley versus Merthyr. Curzon Ashton host Peterborough Sports while Southport travel to Darlington. 5th place Spennymoor are at 8th place Kidderminster. It's Kingston versus Radcliffe and Macclesfield versus South Shields. Oxford City host Leamington, while Scarborough are at home to Marine. Just a couple of things to remind you about before we go. Hereford FC women are in action this Sunday as they take on Hereford Pegasus at Old Score Lane. Kick-off is at 2 o'clock, while the men's side will play host to Littleton in the first round of the HFA County Challenge Cup, which will take place on Wednesday, the 29th of October. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Bullscast. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give us a review and follow, and we'll be back next week to review all of the latest action from Hereford FC. Until then, it's bye for now.
This is Radio Hereford FC, the home of the Bulls.